Your number came up, and then fairly quickly after that, you were opening for what? The Eagles, Elton John, Beach Boys.
Mm-hmm.
You're now really in the big time.
Yeah, we're in arenas, and I've got 4 records, 4 hits under my belt, and 150 weeks or so on the charts, and yeah.
And what that led to, and I'm looking away because I'm trying to imagine the time, you had a string of platinum albums, big single hits in the, what, late 70s. But
75 through 80, yeah.
But then in 1980, you walked out of the spotlight. You basically walked away and took an 8-year hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
In 1980, I did a world tour. I had released an album, and I had a greatest hits album, and the demands on my time were nonstop. And I knew I had to take some time off. I worked 7 days a week for 10 years, it seems, and I there were breaks here and there. But now I'm married. I have 2 small children, and I needed to take a break. And the break was, I was thinking I need 6 weeks or 6 months off, and I've likened it to when you jump off that high rolling, powerful career that's rolling down the road, and you get away from it, you become a little more objective about it. You go through some change. You worked hard to do what you do, but then again, there are other things calling. I had a personal life that was calling with my children. I had a marriage that was failing. I had personal things to attend to. And I went into that civilian life, that alternative life that I had not been giving full attention to.
You've described this period as like jumping off a moving train.
Well, that's it. I was going to try to get away from the cliche because I've used it before, but it was like jumping off a fast-moving train.
It's a difficult subject to raise, but you lost a child. You lost a son. Can we talk about that? And if so, how can we talk about that?
Well, I can. I've never talked about it very much because I haven't entirely come to terms with it. And I never will come to terms with it. I get along. It's made me it's taken me on a different trajectory, I think, than I might have taken otherwise. That was, just to give it a little more perspective, that was later on that I lost my son. He was 21 years old, you see, so. Yeah, he was born in 1977, and so it was later on that trauma happened. But I guess we're looking at we're looking at that event, there's no way that I can give it a perspective that anybody could really. Only someone who's experienced that could. And we all have tragedies. We all have death of close ones. And I certainly don't feel that I'm unique in that case. But it is, as most people would say, one of those life situations that comes out of nowhere, and there is no way to put all those pieces back together again. It certainly takes all the words that I could, anything that I could possibly say from me right now.
I know this is a difficult area for you to discuss, and I want to move on to other things, but what did you learn from that experience? I mean, frankly, it's unimaginable to me to lose a child, and I know it's devastating, but what did you learn from that, and particularly what did you learn from it that you could share with other families who are facing this problem as we speak?
Mm-hmm. I would say that I had as close a relationship with my sons as just about any father could. And I talked to them very openly about drug. When I knew that there was a problem on the street when they were young, I talked to them about it. Some people are susceptible and to that particular type of addiction. People are coming from all sides to try to address this thing. And there are a number of ways I think that it can be properly addressed. And there are more ways now that this can be addressed than there ever were. There are chemical means now. More people can be helped. But of course the problem is the stigma that, that the chemicals have in society, have always had, still have. The lack of funding and information and professional help. This is a war. This is a battle that requires all the resources that a war between nations requires. It takes that kind of personnel, that kind of money, and the kind of attention that kind of war would take. Do we have it? Is there the will or the means to do that? I don't think so.
Well, at best, it's an open question. Let's return to another. You've been very patient with your time. Which I really appreciate.
Thank you, Dan.
I have so much ground I want to cover with you here. One, that you've been married to your second wife, Dominique, since when? 1992.
And 26 years, yes.
Yeah, and you have a property in Napa Valley, California, which everybody knows is one of the wine capitals of the world, but it was destroyed by wildfires. Is there anything of particular sentiment that you lost when your Napa place went up in flames?
I'm not a terribly sentimental person, and I have, I think I've tried to deny from first news that this was something that was going to get me down. My wife has been very, very strong and throughout this. She lost everything. I happened to be on a tour bus and had some clothes and some guitars and things, but she lost everything. And it's not unlike the stages of grief when everything you've got burns down. But it's not nearly so traumatic or devastating as a human tragedy can be. And I was in denial. It was not going to get me. But it's been a year now, and the displacement itself, the things that you reach for that aren't there, the thousands of things during the day that you would normally do are not there. They're not there. Our clothes are things that we cook with, the mementos that we have, the things that we think are, that you open the door and walk into the world with. That shirt's not there. Those boots are not there. That cooking pan that you use is not there. That car is not there. That house, those sheets, all that stuff, there's nothing there. And your first impulse is to try to get back on your feet, get up, get going, get some traction. Let's get moving. It doesn't happen.
I find that a particularly interesting perspective that, as you say, first of all, it's not to be compared with the grief of losing a loved one.
Yes.
In that case, it may get a little better as the years go by, but it'll always hurt. In the case of losing property, as you say, it's not on the same scale, but as much as you say to yourself, I'm just going to put it behind us, there's that shirt that's not there, there's the boots are there, it's the life that isn't there.
It's devastating. I can't help but think about a refugee, all the displaced people there are in this world that wake up, that have families with them, I have great resources in the scheme of things, but so the great multitude of people who are displaced, who have what I just described times, have no resources, and they're among other people who are drifting and displaced and for whom cannot get any traction. I can only begin to speak of what that must be like.